much to do to stand around saluting each other.
Thank you, sir.
I needed to speak with General Lafayette, James. You're his aide? Where's our Marquis?
Indisposed, sir.
Is it his malaria again?
Yes, sir. You can never be truly rid of it. I have confidence, though, that he will be well again in time for this big push.
You're the physician. So what are you so busy at?
Preparing a catalog of the assets of Lafayette's division to be handed over to General Washington and his staff. Mostly routine matters we acquired while the general was still up north. A few reports, a little surplus, intelligence.
Good to see you're staying abreast of things. It does wonders for the men's morale to see their officers staying involved.
Major, General Knox. Apologies, sir.
At your ease, soldier. See to him, Major.
Report, Corporal Francis.
Sir, the prisoner you requested is here.
Prisoner? One of the Marquis' aforementioned assets, I assume?
Yes, sir. I was going to ask him a few routine questions, but this can be done at another time.
Oh, not at all, not at all. Never let it be said that I was an impediment to the soldiers or officers of this army. Bring him in. We'll speak to him here.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to observe you, James. I think it's important that I don't get too far from day-to-day matters such as this.
Sir, I appreciate your attention.
Since I have General Washington's ear, I can inform him on matters such as this, matters that he's far too busy to attend to himself. Just think of me as a fly on the wall.
Yes, sir. The fellow's name is Armistead, sir.
Yes, sir.
This report would tell you everything.
Yes, as I thought. His papers were up near the top. It says here he's a runaway slave.
Well, that report, sir, but...
Was it our men, by which I mean Continental soldiers, that arrested him?
Just before Washington arrived in Williamsburg, sir. He was spotted by our patrols trying to cut through the perimeter of our camps. Some of the men recognized him as a runaway whose master had business around here.
Hey, see, this is the sort of thing His Excellency needs to know, because previously I was under the impression that the Commonwealth of Virginia had county sheriffs to attend to that sort of thing.
True enough, sir.
And furthermore, that the Army of the United States was in the middle of the prosecution of a war, sir. Let civil authorities tend to civil affairs, James. We cannot go burning resources on the likes of this. And if the Chief of Staff were here, he would tell you the exact same thing. Come on. Oh. Careful. Come on.
Sir, prisoner you requested.
Corporal, why is this man blindfolded?
We couldn't allow him to see our camp, sir. This man is a known spy.
That's a weighty accusation, Corporal.
You would have to ask our captain, sir. Apparently some notes were found on his person. The captain said that they looked like a list of our provisions, maybe even our field pieces, sir.
Major, you did not inform me that a known spy was among the Marquis' assets.
General Lafayette intended to inform his staff this evening, sir. It will all be in the report I present.
Corporal Francis, was it? Remove his blindfold and wait outside. You'll be called when you are needed. Now, Armistead, I wonder if you'll entertain a few of my questions.
Sir, this is hardly something a general officer need concern himself.
Not at all, Major McHenry. I may be on the general staff, but I am not above routine.
With all due respect, sir, I thought you wished to observe me, to be a fly on the wall.
Clearly, sir, I did not have all of the information. By your leave, Major. Now, Armistead, my men call you a spy. Where were you coming from before you came here?
From the British camp, sir.
And were you living with them? With the British, I mean?
Yes, sir.
Working for them? Under the protection of the Phillipsburg Proclamation, perhaps?
Yes, sir, I was. I cooked for them.
For the entire camp?
No, sir, the senior officers.
Ah. So I seem to think that some of these senior officers might notice if you were to go.
They might, sir.
Cornwallis, for example?
Perhaps, sir.
And yet, this report makes no mention of anyone pursuing you or of any attempt to impede your progress to us. It's almost as if Cornwallis knew of your attempts to go and approved of it.
Yes, sir, I see how some might draw that conclusion.
Oh, you're sharp. Clever, even. So here's what I'm thinking. Cornwallis notices that you're clever, too. Cornwallis says to himself, well, this here is an intelligent young man, and these rebels surround themselves with slaves. They won't notice one or two
Sir,
more.
why am I being questioned? You seem to know what this conversation is going to be without me.
Brazen. That's the word for you, young man. Do you acknowledge, sir, or deny that you are here under orders from the British?
I am most certainly under orders from the British. I received instruction from no one lower than Lieutenant Colonel Lord Chewton, Chief Aide-de-Camp to General Lord Cornwallis.
And at any time, did Lords Cornwallis or Chewton suspect that you are already passing intelligence along to us?
Well, passing intelligence to us?
Sir, as far as I know, they are completely in the dark about my work for the United States Army.
Major, I seem to think that I don't have quite the grasp on this situation that I thought I did.
It was all to be in the report I present, sir. Armistead here is indeed one of Lafayette's assets, but not as a prisoner, as intelligence.
Why him?
Well, sir, I came to the General's attention when I served briefly as his orderly.
Yes, and impressed General Lafayette as being an intelligent and, above all, trustworthy man. Not unlike the biblical Joseph, who impressed Pharaoh by his honest service. We sent James to infiltrate Cornwallis's base, which he did admirably. What we could not have predicted was that Cornwallis would select him to use as a spy against us. This sort of thing is, to my knowledge, unprecedented.
I don't know, Major. This is just not how wars are supposed to be fought. But I shan't impede you. Forget I'm even present. Proceed, sir.
Now, James, as I'm able to make sense of these notes, we were just beginning discussion of the fortifications at Yorktown, correct?
I believe so, sir.
Now, as best as you're able to observe, what varieties of fortifications did you see? And estimate numbers of masonry works versus earthworks.
Oh, there aren't any masonry works, sir. Only earthworks.
I see. And the condition of the construction of the outpost. Anything you can describe?
Well, there's been some argument about the fortifications at Gloucester Point.
Well, what kind of argument?
Please, General.
One of the engineers, I kept hearing the name Smith. Well, he's been put in charge of the building of those works. But the commander of the Prussian forces, I couldn't make out his name. Well, he complains that the lines of defense are too long and that it will spread out his men too far to maintain them.
If this is true, Major, then our entire artillery...
When did construction begin on the outpost?
Just a moment. A word, Major. Major, I can appreciate this man is Lafayette's resource, and that the Frenchman appears to give you free hand to act in his stead, but I am not prepared to be interrupted by a subordinate officer.
I do apologize, sir. I intended no offense. I was only trying to prevent you from giving any of our information to him. You were just about to discuss tactics right in front of him, sir.
What of it? He's our spy.
And Lord Cornwallis might be saying the exact same thing to Chewton at this very moment.
Wait. You think that they could turn him? Or that they already have? I thought you said you trusted this man, Major.
I do, because my general does. And I don't think that he's been turned. But if the British were to find him out, he will be compromised, whether that be by cooperation or coercion. This is why I cannot reveal, even to him, what of his information we know or do not know already.
Like the bit about the earthworks. We know that there aren't any masonry works in Yorktown. We sent riders.
Indeed, sir. Just as we'll confirm what James has to say about Gloucester Point.
But if we're going to send riders anyway, then why do we need him? Sending a detachment is traditional, few numbers and fortifications. General Washington himself did this in his younger days. This, sir, is how gentlemen acquire intelligence.
But just standing on a hill and looking down at the enemy's camp, you can't get information like this. Now, Cornwallis was under orders to send a sizable portion of his men up to New York to reinforce Clinton. But here we see those orders being rescinded at a later date. This lets us know the exact date that Clinton learned Washington was headed for Virginia.
I can see, sir, how that might be useful. But I think you're putting too much emphasis on Picayune matters. There's no reason to be so guarded.
James, if you were Cornwallis's man...
Oh, I'm not, sir.
If you were, and Cornwallis were to question you about this man here, what could you tell him?